All right, we got 1:30. Welcome, everyone. Public Works Facilities Subcommittee. Thanks for showing up. It's the only one we've had in a while. I think our last one was canceled, and so we'll muddle through this. Today's July 23rd, and let's go ahead and do well, we don't even need to. I'm looking around the table. We've got everybody here that is listed for our roll call. So Mike, let the record show everybody listed is present. And we can roll into public comments. We have public comments. I see none up on the screen. All righty. Communications, David, do we have any communications?
Vice Mayor, no communications.
Gotcha. Wow, right into D, approval of May 28th minutes. Any opposition on approving those minutes?
I'll move.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Mike, did you catch that?
I did, thank you.
All righty, and let's move right into new business. So number one, W-Trans pedestrian safety evaluations.
Okay, this is a new business item, but it's really a follow-up from discussion from the previous subcommittee meeting, wherein there was a request to evaluate two intersections related to both the elementary school at North Street is in the high school at School Street. We, through our city engineer, contacted W-Trans, who served as our traffic safety consultant for many years, to provide a scope of work to evaluate those two intersections and provide recommendations. And included in your packet is a draft scope of work for those doing the safety evaluations. And with joining us is our city engineer, Vanessa Apodaca, to talk to the proposal that we received.
It's a very brief proposal, 2 pages max here, and W-Trans laid out the specific tasks in this proposal. So it's the 2 intersections that we talked about at the last Public Works Subcommittee meeting. In summary, they would be evaluating the turning movements and doing some traffic counts. We do want to target school hours, so I mean not during a school break. They're proposing to look into collision data. I'm not aware of any, so that may be very easy. And evaluating North Street, even though it's always stop controlled, looking at potential other modifications to improve safety.
It's just kind of the same thing as when Glenn, school superintendent, was here, kind of capitalizing on that. Gotcha.
Yes, and so that's the idea.
Yeah.
That's intended to kind of respond to that discussion. And so in short here, the budget proposed here to do this evaluation is almost $11,000, so $10,900. And I think the next thing is to get a recommendation to probably move this to council or something else.
And that's both intersections.
It is both
Right,
intersections,
okay.
that's right.
And this is on our dime. We're not splitting this with the school district at this point.
Not that I'm aware of,
Yeah.
those discussions haven't been had though.
Well-
Included, I do want to say, included in the scope is one presentation to this subcommittee. And so, anyways, you guys will get the rundown after that.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay with it. I think we have to do something at those intersections, even though the last situation we had in front of Piacetti, you know, I mean, that was just some callousness on the part of a few people that made that happen. But nevertheless, I'm in favor of moving forward with the proposal. I'd like to see that agendized at the school subcommittee so that Glenn knows exactly how much we're spending here. To make sure that those intersections are safe, and that wouldn't even include any recommendations that they have, so. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, thank you. Safety up there. We're only getting more kids. You know, with things that are going on around town, we're getting more kids, and I think if we get ahead of it, get out in front of it, and make those something's gotta be done with those roots and then something's going to happen. And I don't want to see any kids get hit up there, we might as well take the hit now and then run it up to the council and see what they say, but I'm all for moving it up.
So the next step then is agendize for the school subcommittee. Should we wait to target city council until that subcommittee?
I didn't
That's
mean to,
tennis.
I didn't mean to wait
Okay.
with the city council, I just meant, next time we have a subcommittee meeting with the school district, it'd be nice to know, let them know we're doing something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll target the August 14th.
Yeah, and then the next school subcommittee is August 19th.
Or 19th, yeah. Just so long as Glenn and those guys are on board with it, he knows.
So if you wanted to, we could schedule it for the July, or doing the August 28th council meeting, so we will have, it'll have gone through the subcommittee by then.
Okay,
August 20th.
for council. Okay, anything else on that one, anyone? All right, let's move into. Guess it's the, let me go back to my pavement preservation project.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. This item is in regards to what we're referring to as the Clovercrest pavement project. Clovercrest was identified by Sonoma County Department of Infrastructure, or Public Infrastructure, or PI, as they call themselves, for part of their annual pavement program. And when they identified the list of projects, we reached out to determine whether they could include the portion or section or segment of Clovercrest that's within the city in their paving, as part of their annual paving project, and they agreed. They've asked us to do two things, execute an agreement that just agrees that we reimburse them for the costs of the work, which the cost that was identified to perform this pavement work is about about $120,000. Included in that is it's necessary when you do an overlay to raise up the infrastructure so that it's flush with the new pavement. Our city engineer did provide a written letter to the director of public infrastructure, indicating we support that and we agree to pay the bid price for that. This work was included in our budget. We discussed it during the budget workshop. And they're now just waiting for us to memorialize the agreement. We want to bring it here first and put this on the council August 14th to get council support to go ahead and move forward. Authorization to enter into the agreement with the county. I think this represents kind of really one of the first times we've actually partnered with them on a joint road project. It ultimately would save us money because we won't have to do bid specs. We won't have to do all the work to procure the contractor. And we can get the city portion of the work done when the county crews are activated and the county contractor doing the work. So it's kind of a win-win. And Clovercrest has been identified as one of the our local streets that really needs some pavement work. And basically, our portion would be from the boulevard up to the edge of the city limits, and then the county would do or the remaining portion.
So when you say the boulevard, you mean the stop sign? All
Yes.
the way down there?
Yeah.
That'd be nice. We need to do that more often. I'd really be interested. I know it's a lot of work. We probably never figured out what would have it cost us if we would have just did our own little section, going out to bid and everything else. So
Yeah, it probably wouldn't cost much different in terms of, the unit costs for materials and so forth, but what it does save us is the time
Yeah.
to, do all the procurement, contracting, insurance, put it before the council. I mean, we're gonna do some of that, but there would be multiple steps, whereas this is kind of a lot more efficient to work with the county and just do it directly. And they may, with their process, there may be some built-in savings too, if they're doing multiple road segments.
yeah, I'm in favor of it. Yeah, absolutely. I know some people that live up there that will really be happy with that. Right, Bob? Yes.
So we're just asking for your support to move forward, and we want to make sure we're following the two-step process, to get your input and feedback. Let's go.
That's move forward.
Let's go on 14.
Yes. There'll be an agreement, we'll bring forward a resolution authorizing signature of the agreement and the use of the budget to fund this.
All right, anything else on that one? Let's roll into number 3, Jefferson Street traffic data review and stop sign request.
Okay, well, I'm gonna turn this over shortly here to our Public Works Director to talk a little bit about the traffic data itself. The information that's in your packet is a reflection of the deployment of our radar trailer, and I think it's really helpful, one, in terms of providing, direct feedback to drivers and when they exceed the speed limit or the posted speed limit. But it also generates data, which helps give us feedback that can be important in terms of setting speed limits, but also guidance in terms of whether, additional improvements are necessary. And I think our Public Works Director will speak to that. That's one half of this request. We have received a request, and it was through the mayor to have or request this subcommittee look at and make a recommendation whether an additional stop sign on North Jefferson, either at the intersection of 4th Street or 3rd Street would be appropriate. So it's kind of a twofold request here.
God, the only thing we've been we got this new stop sign right up here. I'm just wondering, we're gonna have stop signs at every single, which is fine, don't get me wrong, I mean, it does need to be slowed down there, but it seems like we're getting stop sign crazy.
Well, we'll have, with this data, we did it during May 21st to June 5th, so school was not in session.
Right,
And we're setting up the trailer again to capture the same amount of data over the same amount of days when school is in session. So we can have contrasting data. There is one thing to note. This says, in the little write-up here, it says the vehicles traveled above the speed limits are represented for 1.9%. It's not 1.9, it's 18.9% of the total vehicles, the 30,444 vehicles.
Wow.
That traveled.
They traveled above the speed limit?
No. There was 30,442 vehicles passed through this intersection in a 16-day period. Out of that, 18% of them were over the speed limit.
But that sounds awful high as far as the number that actually traveled that. And how long of a period?
16 days. Now, the trailer captures traffic in 2 directions.
Wow, seems high.
Yeah, that's tough.
And then
Let's see.
wait till school starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Students.
is that the primary area where everybody's talking about speeding to during school hours?
yeah, and then you can
Right.
see that out of all the speeding data, the amount of speeding, the majority of the people that are exceeding the speed limits are exceeding it between 1 and 5 miles over the speed limit.
And what you're talking, what stretch now?
We are looking at the stretch in between 3rd Street and 2nd Street.
3rd and 2nd.
Yeah, on Jefferson.
On
Jefferson, 3rd and
Okay.
2nd.
All right, you go past.
So what it is,
Butler.
I specifically placed it there because there's no stop at 4th and there's no stop at 3rd. So at that north end of this capture area is when you're gonna see the highest rate of speed from your vehicles. That's when they're gonna achieve the highest rate, and then they're gonna start slowing down for that stop sign. So that was the thinking behind putting it there.
Well, for sure, on 4th Street North up to School Street, there's nobody speeding there with all the potholes.
Right.
So you're talking.
That's.
Yeah.
The one benefit of potholes.
So, yeah, I mean, I would say having that school session data, is gonna help, and you can see the 10 a.m. to, on that slide before the 10 a.m. to the 6 o'clock. is when the highest amount of vehicles pass through there.
And we pretty much decided that speed bumps really aren't that effective. They're more of a nuisance than.
Right.
Than a help.
I mean, I'm not totally opposed to that.
I feel like fire is opposed to speed bumps.
Yeah, that they don't like the,
They don't like that.
and it's with placement for width of wheel width patterns for ambulance and fire trucks,
Gotcha.
then it just becomes a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where was the mayor talking, putting a stop sign? On the corner of what, Fourth or Third?
Either fourth or third.
Yeah.
Third's a T intersection.
Fourth is a weird offset intersection.
It is.
It would be very difficult to put a stop sign.
And I don't see Ford doing anything because they're either slowing down as they come to Fourth because of all the potholes, or they're just starting to speed up after the intersection.
Yeah, and if you put it at third, you would have third and then a stop at second, so you would have, it would be a one, north-south block.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a good location for ticket writing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the
I
other
don't know
thing
what
about
the chief
adding
does.
a stop sign, when you add a stop sign, people want crosswalks. Or when you add a stop sign, people think, well, there's a stop sign, I can just walk across there. And with new stop signs, you get a lot more people running it. And a lot more people just walking out in the street because it's there. So, yeah. There's a slight learning curve, but, yeah. Look at the data there and, I'll be bringing the next set of data back at the next public works subcommittee, and we can overlay on what we have here with in school and out of school.
So we're gonna wait on a decision for a stop sign till we have school data too?
That's up to the council.
I mean, that stretch right there, and this is just me, but that stretch right there from Fourth all the way down to Second right there. That's a racetrack right there. I don't see why we wouldn't just move forward now and just let's figure out a stop sign and if, I think one on Third right there. If you did one in there, I don't know that, Vanessa, would that be tough to put one in, because that's not a through street right there? We'll see where Third comes up to North Jefferson, and we're kind of running into that.
You would just want the stop on Jefferson. You want a three-way stop there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, or just to break up the Fourth to Second racetrack.
It also wouldn't hurt to do a survey of the, couple block radius of all the homeowners.
Yeah,
Because if you get an overwhelming no out of everyone who lives in that area,
right,
and we put it in anyways.
right,
Well, we have speeders all over town.
Right.
yeah.
No matter where you are, maybe what I'd like to see is come back with the information with the overlay. And maybe a proposal of a three-way stop.
Yeah.
Adding 2 more stop signs. But you're right, then we're gonna have to do the striping and do we do the crosswalks there?
But it-
Yeah, because
it's got
they'll
that
be,
connection.
those will be, I have to see the distance. They may be a school area crosswalk. Probably not, 'cause it looks like.
To which school, Washington, not Jefferson,
High school, Third Street.
School Street?
Mhm.
Oh, well,
Depends on the proximity.
4th Street would have the football field close by, but.
Yeah, because well, you can't see it on this map, if you go to Washington, the intersection of Fourth and Washington. That kind of offset intersection, that's a school crossing.
Yeah.
So,
That is a funny intersection.
okay, so,
Yeah, but I still think that, like I said, from Fourth to Second there, needs something, whether we wait for an overlay or not, it's gotta have something in that section.
But I don't think it should be on 4th, but it's gotta be on 3rd.
Yeah, Third, break it up halfway in between.
next subcommittee, you want the overlay data
Yeah.
and a proposal for installing the thermoplastic and the stop signs.
Yeah, I think that's. the way to
Visual
do it.
representation of what it's gonna look like.
Yeah,
And then, do we want to do a poll in the neighborhood?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, we've got, I'm sure they're gonna say yes. Cut down on speeders, who's gonna say no?
yeah.
So.
Cool. All right, anybody else have anything on that? All right, First Street. On my glasses, gap closure proposal.
Okay, so this is a project for which the city applied for and has been awarded community development block grant or CDBG funds as part of our intent to improve accessibility on First Street, primarily between downtown and Osti Road, on really the south side of First Street. There's intermittent gaps where sidewalk is missing, and there are currently not accessible curb cuts along that section. This is the primary access route for folks, pedestrians that may, walk to Cloverdale River Park. And currently under construction is the Osti Road Apartments project, which is, 75 unit project and fairly high density. It's expected to generate, school age children that will be, could be walking to school. And so we obtained a proposal from Coastal and Civil Engineering to provide design services. That's included in your packet. Again, the intent would be to enter into a professional services agreement, similar to what we're doing with, pretty consistent with the work that we're doing with Clark, and have them, do the necessary survey work. We have to make sure we get the right of way identified, topo data, and there's some utilities that would be necessary to work around. So the scope of work, including your packet, is what we're recommending. Vanessa, is there anything you might want to say?
No, I think the project is intended to be a sidewalk gap closure, really to speak to the funding mechanism. And so we're not anticipating any roadway improvements. It's strictly going to be sidewalk, probably some curb and gutter. Early indications are we don't have to relocate power poles, so that's good, but that's gonna all get vetted in design.
And then how do we handle the railroad track section after you come out from underneath the overpass?
This is outside of that, so the limits of work for this particular scope are, let me get my bearings with me, on the west side of the overpass where the existing sidewalk ends to, is it Mulberry? The intersection with Mulberry. And whether we put in, so at a minimum, we're looking at a pedestrian ramp on the one side of Mulberry. If budget allows, we'll put in a pedestrian ramp on the other side of Mulberry to receive that traffic. But right now, our focus, really, we're just laser focused on from Mulberry to the existing sidewalk. So to answer your question, we're not messing with the railroad tracks yet.
At this point, okay. Because we gotta figure a way to get the kids across the street through the sidewalk. Now, this doesn't interfere with our block grant for the scout camp, right?
No.
Correct.
This was the prior fiscal year. We've actually completed the federal environmental review process. We'll still need to just complete CEQA, which should be a more likely just a categorical exemption. But this would enable us to get going. It's grant funded with CDBG. I think we very well likely, depending on when the cost estimates come in after the design work, may be looking at putting some local money into this project to address, some other improvements, but we'll look at that as we get more in depth, and this will get us started.
And we don't know what the Great Trail of McGuire is doing, with this being the starting point here, what that's gonna look like. Are we duplicating the work, you think?
I don't think so. My sense is, when we did a tour with the folks from Great River Trail, they're kind of looking at either the rail corridor, or leveraging the existing trail system within Cloverdale River Park, which makes a lot of sense. Short deviation, kind of bring folks over and then up, to the Preston area.
Get past the tunnel.
Right, keep costs, maintain cost control, utilize existing travel paths and so forth. And it would just be for us about how do we ensure pedestrian safety at the intersection of Oski Road and First Street. I think there's some need for some improvements there for internally, just not to get too far off topic, but the idea of putting in a three-way stop there. There's currently a stop at Oski, but maybe having that be a stop controlled intersection with crosswalks, just to ensure a safe passage of pedestrians over to the north side of with First Street or Proper Road to be able to get to River Park. Of course, the county's making progress on their bridge project. Hopefully they're gonna get done this year. I just need an update lately, but that would all kind of tie into that. But we're kind of looking at that as a separate project.
And First and Austin Road's gonna be a tricky one right there. To get that to have people actually stop. Cause everybody that lives over on that side of there is just gonna keep going. That's what I'm saying. That'll be a tricky one.
Narrow that road a little bit, so
I know.
take some of the shoulder away. But I'm not the engineer. Right?
Well, the way I see it on that section right there, we don't really have a choice but to move it forward. It's gonna happen eventually. Alexander Valley Apartments and all those projects going in, and that's just gonna become, we're gonna need to do something, so I'm all about moving forward on this, and let's see what we can do, make a move on it, What do you think, Gus?
Yep.
Okay.
So the proposal here in front of you has, for design services, $88,000 and a little bit of change. There's an optional additional task for construction management and inspection, for another $45K. And so together, we're looking at, almost $134K. Just the design services were about $88K.
From Mulberry down to Estes.
Or where it ends,
It's already there.
Well, there is not, it's a gap right now. The sidewalk ends
There is
and
some-
there's dirt.
There's some.
Yeah, there's dirt, there's meter boxes, there's.
This is the construction cost though.
Yeah,
No, this is not design.
Plan.
This is design and plan.
It has to go to bid under the.
Right.
It's a grant project, so.
That's just a lot of money. We
Everything's.
spend more money on this kind of work than
Paperwork.
the actual shoveling on the ground.
Mhm.
Do you remember, Kevin, how much grant funding is available for this one?
Maybe we could. Shouldn't be there. In-house, I don't know.
Right.
So this is just the engineering.
Yeah,
right?
get the plans out, get the bids and all of that.
And then we go for but this is the grant money, right?
This is taking from the grant.
Yes.
It's eating into it.
What is it without the construction?
So without the construction management and inspection, it's $88,023.
And the construction management's another
45.
45. And that's because they have an inspector out there on site, pretty much full time. It assumes 25 working days. So that's when you've just got someone out there watching the construction, making sure traffic control is in and things are functioning well and nobody's knocking down.
We're tapping out city staff.
Well, that's.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Can't give them what they have for that.
It's certainly, in the realm of possibilities to go forward later with construction management services. We want to just keep this skinny for now.
I think we should keep it as skinny.
Yeah.
Okay, ask for
Agree.
Probably just for the management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the council, and it would probably line up with after we receive bids and get them a little bit on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what I hear is move this forward to city council to the tune of $88,023.
And with this subcommittee's support, we do like to establish as part of bringing forward council, budget authorization for up to a 10% contingency, just in case there's any desiring ones or things pop up. Is that supportable? 10% maintenance, so. We can build that into the resolution.
All right,
All right, Scout, anything else on that one?
that's
Any
it.
comments up there, anybody? No? All right, let's move into E5, Scout Hut. Contract proposal.
So like the previous project, this is also a community development block grant funded project that the county has awarded or recommended award of CDBG funds for ADA improvements to the Scouts Cabin at City Park. As part of the work, the funding was intended to improve the accessibility to the building itself. We've currently got non-accessible stairs at the front entrance. And then kind of some grades that don't need access on the south side of the building. But in addition to access, desire to improve both the restroom and the kitchen for ADA improvements. This is also a city capital improvement project, which the intent would be to improve the Scouts Cabin so that it can serve basically as a community center. Kind of the vision is to improve it. Of course, ADA is kind of minimum necessary to be able to open it up to public access or public use. But also kind of the start of improvements to be able to have this facility be available to be rented and generate revenue. So we met with Randy Figueredo with TFA Architects. Randy has a lot of experience in CDBG funded projects. He knows the county very well. He knows what they need, which is always helpful when we're doing the work. Some of there's a lot of unknowns with that building being kind of an older building without plans.
Yeah.
And so what we have in the packet is kind of a basic proposal of $7,800 to kind of do the initial work in terms of starting to do a little more programming around what are some of the proposed uses of the building, the survey work, getting the topo data organized, and then kind of coming up with some concepts that we could bring to council or that can be brought to council, and then get buy-in for really the next step of what are the specific improvements you want to see based on the intended use. So this is kind of the initial start of the design process. And again, this would the intent would be use community development block grant, but we've also in the budget identified Quimby funds for improvement, which is park impact fees paid by developers, and this would be a way to we can provide additional park amenities for our community. So I don't know if there's anything Kevin or Hershey you wanted to add.
So we got 250 from the CDBG. And then I think we have a balance of around 550 in the Quimby. We checked with Alex to make sure that was appropriate use of the Quimby funds, and he said yes. So, and kind of David summarized it this is the first step. We did meet with Randy and he kind of said, what do you want to use the building for? Like, what do we do things? And so he's good at programming the space so we can hopefully get everything we want and make a nice asset.
What's the total for, like, with all the funds and all that together, the project total at the end?
I don't remember what we put in the budget but the Quimby is, I think, sitting at 550. So yes, I don't know if you know the
550 we're talking.
plus we got the 250 from the CDBG.
So,
Yeah.
but the main, like David mentioned, the biggest, biggest thing for us is being able to rent the facility in the future. Because then you can start bringing revenue in to cover some of this, recreation programs and just putting the money back into the park, which is very important.
Does it have, now, quick question, does it have to be used solely, can you put that would that people go and have all their parties that we went and looked at down there, you know, the overhang, that whatever you call that thing? Can that be incorporated into this project? So if it's a rental here, you can also have the ability to go out and rent that, because that needs some rehab too. The gazebo, yeah, there you go, sorry, I didn't, the gazebo, I'm wondering if you can throw this in on top of that project and get that whole
Yeah.
corner of the, because it just needs, it needs some love, you know, that thing is. And it gets rented every weekend, or I mean, there's people there every weekend, so.
We can ask to put it in there.
That'd be really be a bump to that corner of the park, and then it'd be a good selling factor right
And then the
there.
outside area to the scouts cabin too, you get fixed up, make that nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, not only that, you know, maybe host some of these meetings there, because
Yeah.
it's so big, it's,
Yeah.
there's a lot more room up there.
Yeah.
Possibly city council meetings up there.
Yeah, I think the way I think staff uses this is this is a, start in what might be a several year project.
Oh, yeah.
We won't be able to get it all done, but we wanna
Yeah.
get the accessibility piece done and some basic improvements, make it look nice. But then, plan some, and have design ready to go to, do some continuous improvements that, I mean, ideally, if we get it all done, that's great, but
Right.
if not, be able to, plan in some of the improvements, that, will just build on this, what's a tremendous community asset.
Hopefully, we can hire the architect once, right? We get the
Right.
whole thing planned out, do the CDBG, but then he'd also, the next part that you're using our Quimby funds to,
We'll go out to bid.
keep going.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. It really needs a lot of work, but,
Oh, I know.
I mean, building from the ground up is so expensive, so.
First thing we're doing is clean the park south. Park south is there. Yeah, the rest of the way, in case you know.
You know, a couple of years ago, we did I forget what you want to call it, but it was an overview of city park. Any improvements we wanted to see, I think Joe Paulo and I worked on that. One of the things was that scout cabin. I don't know where those plans are, but it wouldn't hurt to go back and look at those and just kind of see what else we had talked about at that point in time. You know, if there were extra barbecue pits, if there was lights going over,
Yeah.
that would be a parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have that somewhere?
Yeah, we have.
Okay. Remember, I just looked at that.
You've got it, Bob, right? There you go.
I love that.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be opportunities for us to apply for, well, identify and apply for additional funds too. As we think about how this building can be programmed. I know the nonprofit groups that use it now, of course, it's for the Girl Scouts, youth soccer, youth baseball, kind of building in some storage, things that they can with maybe separate private access for them, so that it's also, it's a multi-use community center. It serves a lot of the different groups, and then get the rental income too with it. So,
How big is that place, Sector? Do you know? It's about 2,000, right?
I look more than that. I think it's
Bigger than,
close to 3,000, just the open room itself is like 18, I think.
bigger than it looks.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than it looks. And then not only that, we get at least 2 or 3 inquiries a month. On my phone, Parks Office phone, folks trying to rent it. For yoga, for, just for parties and stuff. Can't go in there yet, but in the near future, you'll be able to.
So what do you need from us?
just your green light to move forward. I think we have budget,
What was the total cost, 87?
8,700. Yeah, so it's.
No, that's something I could live with.
Yeah, that's good. I like the under tens.
Yeah, well, just
It's not.
be aware that, so the way architects usually develop their design cost estimates are based on the proposed design and architect's cost estimate. So, it's usually a percentage of construction cost. So let's say it's $1 million, for example, and it'll come up with a 15% cost estimate for architectural services, which would be $150,000 to do the ultimate design, which gives all the specs in terms of materials, equipment, etc.
Structure engineers, mechanical engineers, and all those.
Right.
It'd be good to have a set of plans just for the building, just actually.
It's got no heat or air in there either.
It's in there, hopefully we can get that in there.
Yeah.
A couple heat pumps in
We're gonna
there.
have to do that.
We don't need air in there.
Heat or air.
Oh, but the way-
Try building one of those new ADA windows.
There you go.
Yeah.
They're gonna bring them down, make them reachable, yeah. Yeah.
All right, anybody got anything else on that they want to add to the scout hut? All right, and we'll move into F, standing items, update on Soda Springs, Porterfield Creek open space.
Okay, so just on, Soda Springs Ranch, we submitted what's called the initial preserve access and operation maintenance funding request, our IPAOM. We just heard back on Thursday from the Open Space District. They funded a number of the items that we had requested, though they left out some critical items, namely the ADA access and improvements to the front. And along with that, they left out funding the necessary environmental review, their CEQA. And they did not, because it's adverse to their policy, did not fund the frontage improvements running along Foothill Boulevard running north, which we kind of expected based on which they told us up front that that was not something they normally fund. I did respond with a thank you for what they did offer to fund, and express disappointment in the items that they did not, in their initial correspondence, provide funding for. And in response, they said, we want to revisit that with you. So
That's good.
I just came in late last week with our city engineer. I want to really kind of break out. I think we gave them high level costs, and I think what they're looking for is a little more detail on what's necessary for the access improvements in the front. And that's something we'll have to work with the city engineer to kind of give them a more detailed engineer's estimates on. We did give them the proposal for the sequel work, and they said, oh yeah, we'll fund that, but they didn't put that in their original correspondence. So we kind of got their opening salvo, and we will be working to further refine our cost data and get that back. So we're gonna, again, our goal is to get as much of the work that needs to get done to open the preserve or the open space funded by the district. And we pointed to Porterfield Creek as the example where they funded the ADA parking, some of the frontage improvements, and as well as CEQA. So, you know, they kind of, I don't think it's precedent setting by any means, but they funded those in that case. And we just want them to follow suit on this one. Just sticking with Soda Springs Ranch, yesterday we had a meeting with a staff at that is part of the one of our special districts in Sonoma County that funds vegetation management. Their interest is in doing a pilot project with sheep. And we identified kind of 3 areas of Soda Springs Ranch that could benefit from sheep grazing. They want to do a pilot project that they can showcase and highlight and to use it as a way to educate the community about how sheep can be beneficial for the environment. And so we're engaging with them because they've identified they have $40,000 to fund that, and that kind of helps offset work that we would otherwise have to do through person power, machines, equipment, and it's just more of a contractual.
Yeah.
How does all the funding, I know, what was it, 2 years ago? It's been close to 2 years, year and a half maybe, when there was an announcement that Sonoma County was gonna get $7.4 million for vegetation management. All the firefighters were standing up there and everybody was like, yeah, you're gonna see shovels in the ground. Where's that? Who do we need to call, Cause I know Tuberville he was talking about it, and you had all these guys, Jenkins, everybody was up there saying, yeah, it's gonna start happening. You're gonna see us all over town. I haven't seen one where $7.4 million happened.
Yeah, I don't think I've not seen any,
That's what
public information, whether it's press releases or announcements or.
That's what I,
anything.
I'll follow up with Chief Marshall and Chief Jenkins after the meeting to see what we're at. I agree
Yeah.
with that too.
I know because I mean, they brought everybody down there and announced it, and it was a big thing, and Gore was there and tooting his horn and saying, hey, this is what's going on, we're saving the world. And I'd like to, I mean, if we need to call Gore, not a problem, I'll give him a call and say, hey, where's our money? You know, or where's your guys?
I'll follow up.
Yeah. I'll do a little follow-up on that also and find out what's going on, at least we can get an answer, you
One
know.
of the things, Vanessa, too, that they left out on the, I didn't know space, that they left out of our first enrollment, the first request for funding, they left out all the vegetation management. They left, they didn't put any zero vegetation management, which is critical. And, you know, that's a must, especially since we, you know, just to get all the ADA, there's a lot of vegetation that all the ADA requirements, there's a lot of vegetation management that we need to do, just the first entry for folks to go into the park, so they left that out completely.
Well, if I hear you correctly, David, they're gonna fund Sequent, right? And, they'll probably fund the, ADA frontage.
We believe so.
Okay. So
They,
what-
they didn't commit to it in their initial response to us, and I think they want to see, the cost estimate that we provided to them more defined.
So what are the things that are left that they're not funding?
Well, the other elements we did have, included in the budget, some staff costs for part-time workers, including, and not just parks, but also police. We had, the ATV and then the veg management.
Yeah, just management work.
Yeah.
One of the biggest concerns, well, one of the concerns is a lot of project. But the entrance, that culvert near the entrance
Yeah.
to get into the park. That's not much of a culvert, it's all, I looked into it with a flashlight before we put this cost analysis together. And that culvert needs to be replaced, that road, the entrance need to be replaced.
I think I had that in my cost estimate.
Yeah, and they didn't respond back with that, I mean, just to get a fire truck through there, or any veg management truck through there. That's a must, to get that, make sure there's access, there's safe access for the firefighters. And any heavy equipment that we need to get through there. That'd be kind of difficult to do so.
Right, so we're gonna circle back with them, and again, our intent is to get as much work funded as possible, I think. They acknowledge that the things that we identified were critical, they just didn't put or agree to in their initial correspondence, putting budget towards it, so. They're probably hoping it wouldn't have to, but I think they know to.
That was a well-written email there, that was perfect, right?
Yeah. Well, it's nice to know that they're receptive to negotiating some of the things.
They did get back fairly quickly, so that was,
Yeah.
they didn't just sit on our response.
And there's nothing that will prohibit us from using the money for fire vegetation that Brian was just talking about at that pond, right? We could use it anywhere we want.
No, in fact, currently the property is in the county, so if there was even a difference between county and city, we could say, well, it's an incorporated area, I mean, we own it,
Right.
it's our property, but. That, you know, I know part of the funding was intended to be used for an incorporated area, so it's just getting that commitment to, having that funding be utilized for the veg management, which I think particularly is important as you get up higher in the, on the ridge, to create the fire break, if you will, between the urban community, but, you know, there's just, it's 200-acre parcel, so there's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I know-
Out of there.
I know before we took ownership of the property, the fire department used to undertake some vegetation management projects
Right.
up on top, so I gotta follow up with that, them just to see.
We might get the answer if we touch base, like I said, I'll give Chris Grable a call too, he usually is pretty good with. You know, he's got the pulse of Gore right there, I'm probably not gonna get a hold of Gore, he's not gonna respond anyway, but Chris is pretty good and he'll at least have an answer and maybe a line on where that went or how we. The parameters on what we can and can't use, you know what I mean, so, I'll make that call and I'll have it for the next meeting.
Yeah, and that property is critical, for, you know, building in a fire break in the landscape for
Mhm.
protecting our city. And so, I think it's integral that be considered by the county for, vegetation management work.
That's really what our goal is, what we're doing now, over on Porterfield Creek Open Space Reserve. Trying to create a fire break through there on the east side of the park. In case of any incidents, then we'll be able to stop the fire there, which I got to meet with Chief Marshal and Jenkins here coming up. So that we can go talk about phase 5, vegetation management work through there.
Right, and each phase costs us about $30,000, so we've spent over $100,000 in veg management work, and it's made a tremendous difference up there.
Huge.
You can see it, but you can also just see the impact it's had in terms of reducing all that fire fuel.
It gets you that amount, $30,000 or 25,000 to 30, gets you about 12 acres of management.
Wow. But we're also, is the meeting we had yesterday was with Sonoma Resource Conservation District. It's part of their, what they call the Land Smart Grazing for Community Resilience. And there's 2 pots of funds there. One is for this kind of community pilot project, and then is for funding just to promote grazing.
Yeah.
There's one, promoting that activity in Sonoma County, but also as a way for building resilience and reducing fire threats. So hopefully we get funding for that.
Yeah, it sounded- We went on a hike yesterday, David, Kevin and I, up there, Porterfield, Soda Springs Ranch. See, it sounded pretty promising. It sounded like we were good. We don't know if we're gonna get the funding, but they're doing the selection process right now. They're selecting the cities that are gonna get the funding. So I told Sam to make sure he put in a good word for us. So he would.
That's it, Vice Mayor.
All right. Cemetery columbarium. Number 2.
All right, I don't know, Hector, you had some correspondence today.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Sure. So this is, the columbarium niche. This is one of the projects that was requested for us here a few months back. And really the reason why this was important to this Cloverdale Cemetery is because there's currently not a lot of plots or sections that folks can buy to put their loved ones in there. So this will give the city the ability to put their loved ones in there, little blocks. And what we wanted to bring forward later in the future will be bringing a columbarium as a kind of like a pilot project. Kevin and I went out there to meet with Al. And we came up with a better site than originally up at the very top. It's just right when you drive in on the right hand side. And so I got a hold of Fred Young.
How far in?
So right behind the vets, little memorial there. So when you're coming up right behind directly behind the Reggie's family crypts.
The crypt there?
Yeah, right behind, there's a little road that shoots up to the right.
Yeah.
It's not actually a road, it's kind of like a little cut in the hillside.
That'll be good, it's walkable.
It's walkable, it's
Okay.
probably like 30 feet away from the main drag there. So we reached out to Fred Young, mortuary here from Cloverdale. I spoke to him on the phone earlier a couple weeks ago and finally got back to me today. And I talked to him today regarding the services, and I guess there's a permit process that we gotta submit to the county. So he sent me all a copy of the permit that we need to submit to the county. We literally just got it like 20 minutes before we came in. So I got to review the documents, and so I can really understand how the process works. And then probably meet with them. What I was gonna suggest to him is to hopefully next public works out, maybe he can come in here and do a little presentation. That way we can all understand 100% how that's gonna work. So he said he was willing to do it, so it's going forward. I think it sounds like it's pretty easy.
Any idea of cost for us?
Well, we would purchase the columbarium. And then, and then folks would purchase it from us, and we would make a little bit, some revenue.
We do the grading and all.
Yes.
Make sure it's secure.
Right, with the grade that's already graded, it would be really, as far as from a maintenance perspective, it would be very not to install.
Yeah, and then we sell the little.
Yes, we sell we sell them, and then, it's just, there's so many different types of pollen bearings. There's one that are double sided, there's something come 24 to 40, 24 on each side. And yeah, that's one of the items that we still gotta talk about and do some research about how much those costs for prices. I've been checking with Healdsburg and Linder to see what they got. Any information I can get from them, that way we can have an idea of what those are gonna go for, and see if there's at least come up, make a little bit of money there for maintenance itself there for the cemetery.
Well, I think it's a good idea that Al and Bob, you were part of that too,
Yeah.
they came up with that in the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a nice revenue stream just to maintain,
And it might be a more affordable way for folks who here in Cloverdale to be
Yeah.
able to put their loved ones in there, more affordable costs.
And it'll create more activity at the cemetery. Yeah. I mean, which keeps the bad guys out. Yeah, I'm with you.
That's what I'm hoping I can get, this representative Tony to come up here to the next public workshop and maybe do a presentation. And meanwhile, I can start going, look at his documents, see what we need to do.
Good. Nice work. Good work, nice.
Mitchell Park enhancements.
Right, this is just kind of an open item. I think the only update here is that we, well, I say we, Hector and Parks team, implemented the cornhole or bag toss at Ferber Park.
Already being used every day. I go down there just before dark and there's 20 people down.
Which one is it, Ferber?
Ferber.
Is it noisy?
Not at my house. It's good for me.
Well, the concrete boxes, yes, it's kind of nice because they don't
Yeah.
generate the thud that the wood
Yeah.
boxes do.
Yeah.
So
Just people yelling.
So that's Javier there, this.
Little fiber plate.
Yeah, a little Bible. So what we did a little bit of, we did some grading, thanks Derek for letting us use the backhoe, so. We brought the backhoe and did some grading, got rid of some stuff there, and then we added that most of the materials that we have here are leftover materials. At one point to make from the dog park.
Yeah.
So we used some filter fabric that was left over from the dog park project as a weed barrier. Down there, we put a couple inches of base down there too, for some compaction, and some of these decomposed granite that was left over from the dog park project we had there in the yard. So really, the only thing we bought is just this labor, a little bit of labor, and those boxes. So these are all, which is not materials used, left over from the other big project in the dog park. And so then we finished them Thursday, I think it was Wednesday, Thursday, we did the final touch-ups. And we got a lot of positive feedback from everybody. It's great. They also like the American flag bags. They wanted to buy so the same ones for City Park now. And I think that's.
They have a very cheap enhancement.
Yeah.
Is a male and female sign for the bathroom, because right now it's written with a marker, it says male and bathroom. Right there, and I was like, God, put those up, please. Yeah, somebody wrote, men's bathroom, and I don't even know if it's spelled properly. I was like, yeah, come on.
That's easy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it must have filled out, I gotta check with you.
yeah,
You can go to Ace and buy those and.
yeah.
Well,
So when you were putting in those bean bags, did you find any extra space for the pickleball courts?
A lot of space.
Yeah, we did, but Brad did come over and was shooting, bag toss with us there, he liked them.
Yeah.
We did, since we're on the pickleball, might as well, so I've been working with Brad, he calls me every day, no, and,
I'm sure you do.
we've been working with Brad to purchase a utility box near the pickleball courts.
Yeah.
With like a combination lock to put, so they can put their stuff in there. And, we will have, parks will have access to the box, and so, and that way, if the folks need to go in there and need a paddle or need,
It's in there.
and it doesn't have to necessarily be just pickleball, it could be, bags for the cornhole, it could be a basketball, it could be anything in there, so. We're working on that, and they're able, the pickleball, group is gonna be able to purchase the box with their money. And park staff will perform the installation.
And how do we store the bags now for the bean
They're,
bags?
they're just out there.
Just laying.
They don't get stolen. The city part really, I just replaced them, but it's not because they got stolen, it's because they just wore out.
Yeah.
Folks are being more respectful than I thought, really.
More appreciative, yeah, of that.
I mean, it might be nice to have a box out there just to,
We do have one at the
for the
city.
weather, for the weather,
Yeah.
but otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Yeah, maybe get one of the things I want to do, I put it in the budget, this year's budget is another kiosk, a little smaller information center.
Mhm.
We're gonna do that, possibly at Purple Park and possibly at the city park. And we're gonna post all the scheduling, for sports. And then we had an issue there with folks,
Yeah.
parks are so popular that everybody wants to use them.
Well, those pickleball courts, if we could get a couple more in, that'd be great. I don't know where we're gonna put them, but. Yeah. I know when they have a tournament, it's nice if they were all together.
Yeah.
All the folks. But it is what it is.
Well, but Mayor, that's kind of it for updates, but if there's any other,
Oh, we just moved right along. I mean, we've got an update list. We just kind of zoomed through, so. What's number 4, citywide striping plan.
I know, West Coast has been coordinating with, our city engineer, has been coordinating with, W Trans. I think the intent is to put together a project. We know we were gonna do this in phases that we put out the bid and, start, getting some of the streets sections that were identified as part of the boulevard and Treadway and Foothill, striped. So, I don't know. Vanessa, if you-
Yeah, I've got to check in and follow up on this. The last thing I recall is we've got 90% plans from W Trans. We had no additional comments. And so I've got to follow up and get final plans from them. I think I've heard from the subcommittee here is the priority is the boulevard, especially down south.
Yep.
And yeah,
Treadway is a big one.
and so I'll check up on that and have an update for the next meeting.
Yeah, because those roads, we're not gonna slurry seal, right? We're just gonna restripe.
Correct, yeah, there's not for the slurry seal. Yeah.
Yeah, there's stuff.
Right. Allen Avenue asphalt.
On FEMA awarded us $41,280 to complete that project. We would, finish the bid packet and follow the bid packet for that. We'll send that out and, hopefully get the numbers back and it's within that, price range. And you can get it done.
Do you think they shortchanged us on that amount, or do you think that's a fair amount?
That's a fair amount. We were like, the high end was gonna be kind of like 51,000.
First Street overlay.
I did have a question, so we actually have an informal bid set up packet for both a grind and overlay and a slurry. Neither of them made the budget. Do you want to still proceed with acquiring contractor bids for these, even though they didn't make them in the budget?
You're talking First Street right in front of the movie theater. Yeah, I thought that was pretty much a given that we had to do that to save the erosion for.
Well, at a minimum, a slurry seal. I think the kind of the sticky part is if we do an overlay, we've got to do the curb ramps.
Yep.
That, and that's my recommendation. And I think right now,
We'll have curb ramps on one end to do, because the other one's done already. Redid the boulevard.
Okay, educate me, what do you mean when you say?
so anytime you resurface a road
Right,
with like i.e. overlay or
Yeah,
even
make it thicker.
reconstruction and you make it thicker, it's a requirement that you've got to go in and update the existing pedestrian ramps if they're not to current code.
So are the ones on the boulevard
no,
side
fair
of the
enough.
code?
Are good, yes.
So we would just have to do 2 down there on
By
one
Main
main.
Street, yeah.
And so I think there's the struggle, as I hear.
Slurry, we would not
Slurry,
have to.
that's not considered a resurface. For intents and purposes.
would that work, a good slurry seal?
I think so, that there's no, there's no alligator cracking. I'm not aware of any potholes out there. It really is just this kind of unraveling top layer. Yeah, it just kind of goes in.
And that would hold that in place, or would we sweep all that off and then sort of seal?
No, I would put it first, yeah.
Maybe the next story and then.
Well, why don't we just do that?
Okay, I'll put it up.
That's what I'm saying.
As long as people can walk on it, because that seems to be the main street that they like to close when we do events.
Right.
How much are the curbs? Would the curbs be that expensive at the cuts?
10 years ago, I would spec those out at about $5,000 per, I don't know.
$1,000 each now.
Well, potentially, yes.
Well, the other thing
Years ago, 5 years.
It was a long time ago, because that's.
No, now.
Costs are-
Yeah,
You don't know what you're gonna find under there, because you got the culvert that runs along there.
Any tricky stuff.
Yeah, but like, if you can go out and walk,
I think it will hit the dog park, but I think,
Was it?
it won't hit the road park.
So then, 12, good grief, yeah, so 12 per.
Yeah, let's just try and get the story resealed.
Okay, well, I'll put it up, and it's hopefully we'll have the numbers back by next September.
And Crocker Bridge, we kind of already went over that one.
Yeah, the overall reports, they're making incremental progress.
I saw they have walkway sections that were delivered yesterday.
Very cool.
Where is it?
One section.
On the other side.
I don't know, they were sitting on a truck and trailer when I drove by.
There's
I
still.
noticed they had some, the access down there for equipment going across the middle part of the road. And I mean, are we all, is that all good? They got permits to get down in there?
Yeah.
Right through the river. That's, I know, it's like, oh, God. Cool. Right, Clark Avenue rehab.
Yeah, so Coastland Civil Engineering has completed 50% design drawings, and we had a meeting to discuss kind of final, moving to the 90% design drawings, just a little bit of potholing work that needs to be done. And we're gonna coordinate with our crews, our street team, do some of that potholing work, and it's just progress, they're making final progress on the design, and once we have the final design, we'll bring that forward with a final cost estimate. And we're, building up our fund balance for our funding source, which is the, that's
SB1.
SB1 funds, to be able to carry out this project. I think we identified it in 25-26.
As we're still talking streets,
Yeah.
this is just an addendum to kind of what you've been talking about. There's a portion of the street on Tarman between Brookside and Rosewood, I think, that is extremely pothole, serious. I don't know if you know who Bob Del Sardo is, most of us do. He has a little scooter, he can't even put it on the street there without it tipping over. I mean, that is so rough on that street. Driving a car is serious pothole. And it's a street, that section of the street is about maybe a football field long from Brookside to Rosewood. Yeah.
Derek, do you know what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that an dip that's like a runoff? Or is it just a big?
No, it's a Brookside, it's Carbon Drive, right?
Yeah.
Carbon Drive,
Yeah.
between Rosewood and Brookside is that, half block section.
Yeah.
And we looked at that and doing a complete overlay, and that would involve all, like Vanessa said, all the ADA ramps or on both ends, plus the intersection of Rosewood. That's what, during the budget meeting, that's what we brought up, and we're still trying to, it's definitely on my radar.
Okay, good, all right, thank you. That's all I.
Yeah, we're looking at ways, we can, kind of fix it as best we can, in-house. I think that would be the easiest way for us to do.
Yeah.
I'm sending the guys out, to do some sweeping in the next couple weeks. So I'll cover that up. Item 13.
I think this is one of those items that would be critical to getting the tax measure passed, so we can
Yeah.
put that, that is on the list of
Right.
projects to be completed and prioritized by council. With, amongst all the other
Yeah, that's,
segments that need to get done.
yeah, that segment and mayor will need.
Let's not do the whole council, then just let me.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on that subject, Rockydale always pops up and.
We graded Rockydale this year.
Oh,
I have a
okay.
great email.
From Susan?
From Susan,
Yeah,
yes.
she's still, okay.
Yep.
That's good.
So, one of these days, we do plan on trying to expand that asphalt in that section, but for now, we're getting better at making it smoother and more accessible for.
And then we got the other alleyway that runs from, commercial halfway down to Franco's building and then shoots out.
Yeah, we grade that, we kind of do it later in the year, that kind of reaches pretty low on the scale.
As long as we don't forget it.
All right, where are we at? Crooked Avenue, citywide drought relief systems project implementations.
Yeah, so, the kind of, again, there's three components to this project. It's the, AMI meter project, it's the SCADA project, and then last but not least, the, replacement and rehabilitation of two wells. We're at or pretty close near completion on the AMI meter project. There was a couple of, about 100 meters there that we're currently waiting to be, that were out of stock, and waiting. Now, once we get those can be installed fairly quickly. That'll complete the install part of it. Concurrently, when we bring this back, I just got it today, is the proposal for the online portal, which we call it it's called Neptune 360. And Neptune is the manufacturer of the meters, and what Neptune 360 will do is it'll be the public facing interface for customers to be able to read their get real time data, basically within a few minutes of their water usage data. So we'll be bringing back the proposal for review and ultimately the council support to get that implemented. I think Derek, the readers, have they been installed yet, or is that still remaining?
Yeah, we're currently drawing in roughly 3,000 meters on through the portal into our billing software, automated. So our meter reading is down to a handful, sending some out to read a handful of meters, and then once we get the software portal in place, then it'll roll into customer facing numbers that they can see. But the system is functioning at per design.
And we moved from about 10 days to get meters to now we're down to about a day to a day and a half.
Yeah.
So we've freed up, a staff person's time quite a bit. To be able to do other road and street improvements. And that may even be reduced. But there's still some validating that needs to be done and personal meters read, but otherwise, it's going as planned. So that part, I think, once we do the public facing side, I think there'll be a lot of work for our utility billing team up front, doing the interface with customers, getting them signed up and accessing their data. And then we've got both the SCADA project and the well project. I think talking about the well project, one was a replacement, one was a rehab, and I think based on conversations with our team, the rehab project is looking more like a replacement project. It probably makes more sense to just build a new well than try to replace the existing one. So we very well could end up with two new wells. And I know that it's kind of in the design phase right now. And anything that Derek, you want to add about that?
About the well?
The well project.
Oh, yeah, we were definitely, we had a Westio staff engineer come look and gather data So they're helping us a lot on making that final decision. You know, getting this going in the right direction, those 2 wells.
And then on SCADA, that one's been, be frank, has encountered some challenges. One of the first hurdles that we brought forward with council to the subcommittee council was the communication component for the SCADA systems, you know, it relies on, you know, either cellular or radio communications. And initially we had to do the radio telemetry work to make sure that the radios have direct line of sight and all that. Once the cost estimate came out, because each of those radio systems requires basically its own cell tower. So, and it functionally doubled the cost of the project. The staff, I think between West Yost and our director said, you know, we think in this instance, cellular communications would be a perfect option. One, it's going to reduce the upfront capital costs. And in the case of an emergency, when we lose power, if we lose cell, they're going to have to do manual reading, which you probably have to do with radios anyways. So it kind of, you know, we've come to rely on cells, and we think we can get cellular with connection to satellite. So that kind of addresses the security concerns. And we've been working with our longtime consultant ArcSign on integrating this concept into their scope of work, and it's proved a little bit challenging because they rely on being able to do all that design work, which is quite extensive. And so we've been going back and forth with them quite a bit, trying to refine the scope and get us to, you know, the next phase. The challenge for us is we are under a very tight time limit with the DWR on project delivery. We had a phone call with DWR, was that last week? I think it was last week, about is there any give on the time? And they said, you got a month. And that doesn't give us much time, and that's to do complete closeout, as assuming the project's complete. We're doing final paperwork, and wow. and that's because the DWR said they're under pressure from the state legislature to deliver the project, and that they're not granting any extensions to any city. And so that's pretty tough, because I think you're seeing a lot of supply chain constraints, timing constraints, cost increases, you know, everywhere. And so I know we're strategizing on the implementation of the grant, on what's the next best steps, and how we position ourselves, and we're looking at have further conversations with DWR. I don't know if Vanessa or Derek, you want to offer anything else?
Yeah, we have another meeting with DWR to kind of go out the finer details, but like with the transition from telemetry to well, I guess cellular still term telemetry, but point to point to cellular. You know, we had chosen the overlapping sites for the water AMI project. So half the AMI project sites that are currently collecting the data from every meter in the whole city, those are also SCADA sites. So we've already proven that 50% of the sites that we were going to do in this project already function properly with the cell. We're currently using them to track that information in. So and that kind of became the sticking point of designing the telemetry side with cellular as a point to point. But we didn't make that decision to go with that, you know, blindly, just because you could make a phone call on your cell phone out there. We had proven technology in place that was functioning before we made that decision.
How much money do we stand on losing? Do we stand on losing any grant money?
Well, right now we're not proposing losing grant money. Part of the discussion with the state was if we have to absolutely meet the deadline, which is very strict, you know, is there a repositioning of funds, between, you know, maybe moving some of the SCADA, some of the funding that's allocated to SCADA to the well project, because the well project's also proving to be a more expensive project than we had requested, so it's all about trying to move it around, and they're amenable to that. What they want ultimately is they want to be able to be in a position to report to the legislature, their boss, that there were certain objectives met in terms of water conservation. And we think we can show that, and so we're working on that. And so it's a little bit, what I'm sharing with you is how the sausage is being made.
Checking the box along with the top. Because if we get that money moved over to that well project, you know, it helps, you know, our budget a lot. And then it gives us this, we take what we've already accomplished in the SCADA project, and it doesn't give us this hard deadline. It lets us more flesh out exactly what we need and what we want without this hard deadline we have to meet, so we're giving up things that we want to meet a deadline.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, the other bit of news that we're sorting out with, I think the SCADA that was shared with me is that, you know, whether the SCADA for the distribution system, which we're expanding, is gonna comport with and speak to the SCADA system at the treatment plant. And there was a question whether those would communicate with the other, and so that was kind of a surprise for us, because we had the same firm doing the same work. We thought, well, they should communicate, and there was a question mark there, and that's something we're trying to answer.
It's a big question, right?
Right, because I know, we had that conversation. I think the subcommittee recommended, if we can, let's upgrade SCADA, at the treatment plant, and I think that's, you know, that's our goal. The SCADA is a fantastic, technology that we want to be able to use. It's just, you know, the integration piece is always tricky, so figuring that out.
Anything else?
That's it on that one.
Right, Russian River Water Forum, Potter Valley relicensing.
Yeah, I don't have much of an update. We continue to track just the work that, you know, the water agency's leading up in terms of coming up with a proposed solution up there. They obviously did the presentation to council on the kind of the.
We also had a presentation from Councilmember Bagley, put one in Press Democrat. So it's really right up in there, yeah. We'll look at.
When was that?
I think it came out yesterday, Sunday, was it Sunday? Yeah, there was one in there.
What was it?
There was a write-up on the Potter Valley and how the water flows and all. that. So, she wrote it.
Oh.
So she made the press. Alright. That's it. I mean, that one's just ongoing. There's. I don't know how many updates the person can get, you know, and then it seems to change too. So that's a pretty. There's a wild dynamic with that one, you know,
and
so it's always gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
It's fraught with a lot of.
Right.
John
Lawson's there.
yeah.
Lots of lawsuits.
All right, 6 acres, Future Water Company.
Yeah, so the team had a meeting, had our monthly meeting today with the state. The 6 acre project continues to move forward. Kevin's convening the team to parse up the actual annexation application in LAFCO. They want a lot of technical data.
Us to do it.
Right, that's what I was gonna say.
Well, there's the applications for the sewer and water for South and actually, Gus, I think it's your idea, but they're engaging with the county to actually be the applicants.
Oh, they are.
They said they're gonna have a meeting, describe what's the allegation. If that happens, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So that's for the wastewater.
Right,
Yeah.
Yes.
But we're coordinating on the actual annexation application, the LAFCO, just for 6 acres. And that's where I think there's a desire to utilize the engineering contractor that the state's hired to help us with the technical data. Because otherwise, if we do it, it's gonna require staff time, city engineer time, which we we would be on the hook for. They are considering, we submitted our reimbursement request.
They talked about that.
And that's in what they call the Division of Finance,
It's being reviewed.
yeah, that's what, the 2 months now, for reimbursement of city expenses dating back to 2022.
What's that, about 30,000?
It's about 30,000.
Now, has the state, agreed to give us, 30,000 per parcel coming in?
Well, that's
More than
that's the funding. Guide, in the funding guidelines, they identify for water 30,000 per parcel.
Right.
As to how they calculate the total award of funding for the entire project, including all engineering and construction. And so, you know, a lot of the money is being spent right now on just the design process. And that's going against ultimately the final accounting, this $30,000. But the state has identified that there's these other statutes that can apply where there's greater funding available. I think they said up to 6 million.
Yeah.
And we're in that bucket. There's no question. There's no way that this project can be delivered at the lower cost estimate, at 30,000 per once you factor in design and all the special studies and so forth that's necessary for this project.
And how about the South Cloverdale Water District? Have they, backed off on trying to combine that with 6 acres?
I would say they backed off. They actually what they desire to do is do a presentation to the council. They've been talking about, we'll be coordinating with them on potential dates, do a presentation. They wanna try to convince the council to move forward. We suggested that they break out the wastewater piece. The water's separate.
Yeah.
So there's water and water, but then they combine the wastewater. We're suggesting, or have suggested, that they do 6 acres wastewater and South Cloverdale wastewater. And some logical aspects to that include, 6 acres is way farther ahead. Some of those properties, actually, at least half of those properties are already connected to the city's sanitary sewer system, many on Lyle Lane, some on the boulevard. Whereas South Cloverdale is entirely different. It's much more complex. You got vacant properties. You've got lift stations, you've got.
Got some in the city already.
You've got properties in the city, so it's a much more complex issue, and
Well,
so.
why do they want us to try and lump them together?
I think for expediency purposes.
The ones that are way ahead of the other.
Yeah, and hopefully we're drawing that line in the sand and just saying we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, I think Vanessa's been the,
Hired John.
She's been the drawer of the line, and I've been trying to play it and say, well.
No, I'd like them to come in front of the city council. I mean, you know, they just have to understand we're a small city and we've got challenges right now that we have to deal with.
And Councilmember Wolfer, I gave a passionate speech at one of the meetings where I said, you know, exactly what you said. I said,
Yeah.
we got a small team. We have limited budget resources, and you're asking us to take on what's otherwise is a very significant big project. And I said, it's just, being honest, I don't know how we can do it without, you know, that's why we're putting up a lot of roadblocks, because we just don't have the capability to do all those things. And we can't ask our existing ratepayers to fund them. And, you know, we don't have extra budget resources, and, you know, if they want to give us, if they want to commit funding to us, then, you know, we'll think about it. But with that, we still got a lot of work to do to contract out and meet all the grant requirements that.
And keep up with everything else we have. I mean, it
makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, we're helping them, they should step up the marker.
Well, the positive thing out of the meeting today, I thought, was they were meeting with the county to be the applicant for these things, so.
For the wastewater, I think
I thought they said water too. I could be wrong about that.
Well, I think the water is still kind of the outstanding issue,
Yeah.
and so that's what, in your packet, it's an old letter from April. Just kind of in here for informational purposes. Since then, and I put it in the packet because I mentioned this letter at the May subcommittee meeting. And so since that time, well, maybe they are, maybe they are moving forward. I'm confused because it's so 6 acres water, South Cloverdale water.
Yeah.
And then the wastewater for both
Right, yeah.
are the 3 different projects. And so I'm pushing very hard that we are not the applicant for the wastewater projects. If we are gonna be the applicant for the wastewater projects, it's because Sonoma County and Sonoma Water have both said no. And at that point, I would dig in my heels and say, then separate them out. We're gonna administer these as 2 separate wastewater projects. Now, for the water, I still think we want South Cloverdale to be the applicant, very similar to how 6 acres is kind of the co-applicant with the city. We're only the co-applicant as far as that we will own and maintain the thing down the road. But otherwise, 6
Bottom
acres
line,
has an
they just keep
administrator.
trying to pull us into more of the paperwork.
Yes,
They
right.
just keep-
You know,
No one wants to do it, and
Vanessa, you
It's
said,
one time.
you said if the county says no, and who else said no?
Sonoma Water.
Sonoma Water said no. Then we're saying no too, find somebody, because we're not gonna do it.
And I think that's what they want to potentially talk. So right now they're talking with the county. They think that there may be some movement there, in which case they don't need to come talk to city council.
Right.
But at some point, if they get resistance from the county, I will suggest Sonoma Water. I've suggested that already, but I don't know that anyone heard that suggestion.
Yeah.
Then, they may be, when we did invite them to present to the city council for our May subcommittee direction,
Right.
they were like, oh, I don't know that we want to do a full presentation. Can we just meet with 1 or 2 council members? I was like, you guys go right ahead.
Yeah.
There's nobody stopping you from reaching out. Anyway, so,
This is not Cloverdale's problem, it's the state's problem, it's the county's problem. And they're holding a gun to us, trying to get us to fix it. It's been broken for years and they haven't done anything. I'm off my soapbox.
I feel like the county will benefit from this ultimately, us taking these areas into the city. So
Yeah.
the least they could do is help us. with it.
Yeah, Jonathan.
the county's amenable, that's great. And if you do have any phone conversations with, they were talking about meeting with the supervisor that this is the district. So I think if that's for, great, they would have to get the board of supervisors to agree, to be the applicant here. And so, if you've got any pull with Gore.
Well, the problem is that
Or the
the county has over, I think last town was over 400 water agencies. And they don't have the money to consolidate them, and they know they have to be consolidated, right? So.
Anything else on that? All right, recycled water planning study.
Okay, quick update. We were approached by our state representatives at the Division of Acquisition Services with the Feds Bureau of Reclamation to have our kickoff meeting. So we're working on getting that scheduled. What we need to negotiate with them is kind of similar to the AMI project, that detailed scope of work timeline. And so the kickoff meeting is really kind of go over process, it's kind of follows a very bureaucratic process, where we will iron out the scope, the budget, and then be bringing that back to council for final execution, but we're moving forward.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Department update.
Like I said, I got the guys going around, they're gonna start utilizing the new sweeper we bought for the skid steer. They're gonna start on Jefferson at School Street, they're putting out no parking signs, they're gonna do the southbound lane in Jefferson down to Third. And then turn around and do the northbound way.
One more them, what are they doing? Sweep?
They're sweeping.
Is that similar to what the street sweeper does?
No, it's a different setup. It's a sweeper that sweeps it into a box, so we can pick up heavier, larger debris. That'll give us a better idea of the severity of the potholes in that area.
Oh,
So we were gonna get that done this week, Thursday, Friday. And then, if that goes good, then we're gonna pull them, put them down into Tarman, Rosewood area, get some of that. And so we can see the, see the severity of those potholes. Because we're thinking we could just kind of, we sweep up all the loose debris, we'll be able to come through possibly with some hot mix and patch that and not have a bunch of labor.
The airport.
They have the Top Gun played at the airport.
Maverick.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
First one, yep. And then again on September 6th, they're gonna play American Graffiti. That's the Friday night before the car show. We're still working with the FAA to get the grant work done. And then later this year, we'll roll into the second set of mowing, possibly some road fixing and some creek clean out before winter hits, and hopefully no flooding.
now where do they have the movie screen set up?
You know where the landing zone is, where the city hangars are? It'll be on the
Yeah.
south side of the city hangars.
On the south side, okay.
So,
They're parking.
yeah, you can come right in and park right in front of it. It's good that we had over 80 vehicles, last time we had 80 RSVPs.
Wow. Food vendor.
No, it was, popcorn and sodas. It was a free event.
Wow.
How did the group? I want to do it at City Park.
Well, $10. We used to have that at the citrus.
When they park in there.
Yeah. I don't want to walk any.
Where?
We had it on First Street.
Yeah,
I did that.
Yeah, Bob started that program on First Street, and then it went to the Citrus Fair, and then it's down the airport now.
Yeah, I went, I did, it was very good. It was well done.
A lot of people had their lawn chairs too.
Yep, it was a very nice event.
You do one of the parks, not for a drive-in. You could have a movie night out there. for-
Yeah. Fervor would be good, huh? Bring your lawn chairs.
Yeah.
All right, future agenda items. Anybody got anything? I'm just looking for an update and, I don't even know if it needs to be agendized, but the update on the 101 North.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we can ever come up with something like that, I know it was really kicked off and get a lot of, traffic with that. People want to know what the status is on that, so.
You're talking about the restaurant, right?
Yeah, right next to Potters. So, all right, it is 3:07 and moving to H and go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.